And welcome everybody to this week's show with Mayor Joe at 12 o'clock. We have our guest, Ward 2 Councilman Loui Salvati. Welcome, Louis. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in today. I know we got a jam-packed show coming up today, so hopefully we've got some good audience participation out there for this show. I brought my shopping cart back because apparently people are forgetting that, yes, indeed, you do have to put them away all the time, not just when I say so. We'll go ahead and kick things off. You're about ready to finish the August recess for council, so are you looking forward to getting back into the swing of things, back into chambers for council meetings?
Absolutely. I didn't even need the hiatus in August, to be honest with you. But, 18 months ago, I went from a time where I was going to city council meetings and planning commission meetings and school board meetings and school board committee meetings and tomato festival meetings. There wasn't a night, band booster meetings, and then it went down to zero.
Yeah.
So when it ramped back up again, I was
a little happy.
I'm weird in that I actually like meetings because I see my friends and
it's always good.
I get information.
It's always good. Now, you mentioned one thing about the Tomato Festival, so let's start off with that a little bit. So what do you think of the Tomato Festival this year?
I loved it. I loved Friday and Saturday, of course. Thursday I could have done without, but I love community festivals. I'm a music guy, so that was my favorite thing, was the music, and I particularly liked both nights of music that we had this year. Probably would have liked the third too, but I'll never know now.
Well, I know we'll talk a little bit more about the Tomato Festival, but obviously, I thought it was a good success. We learned a lot. It's only the second time the city has done some things, so we already had our big meeting here at City Hall with all the staff, kind of going over some things from the community survey, as well as some internal surveys about how to get some things to work a little bit better. But talking again about meetings, you had the chance to attend the town hall meeting last night. So it was pretty well attended. We had a little mini monsoon right in the beginning of everything, but we still had probably about a dozen people there, and I'm not sure how many people watched, but we certainly had plenty of people comment on town halls. What'd you think of the town hall?
I love that we're having town halls. That's actually one of the things I told lots of people when I campaigned, was that I wanted to increase that aspect of things in general, town halls on all kinds of different topics, which we've started to have. But specifically on the roundabout, I know you know this, and most people on Facebook know that I'm a proponent of roundabouts. I've posted about it on Facebook to gauge people's interest in them in general, and I've asked you. I had the data you presented yesterday, months and months ago. So I was happy to see that there was at least cautious optimism about it. I think it helps that people knew there wasn't going to be a shovel in the ground tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's still people that are freaked out by them, and I understand that. My thinking on roundabouts has gone 360 from the first time I encountered one and didn't know what to do. And hated them for months after that, and then eventually more and more of them showed up, and I figured out how they work and came all the way around to loving them now. So I was happy to see the turnout despite the rain. I was happy to see that nobody was belligerent about them, and I'd like to see it pursued, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I know that roundabouts are, again, controversial just in general, commentary that was out there. But I think one way or another, I think, you mentioned the idea just, that you wanted to have a lot of town halls. And after you hear some of the things a little bit later, you'll see that we are in that process. But the more community feedback we get for it, the better, because, while we are its representatives, we do need to make sure that we make every effort to reach out to the citizens and hear what they say. And, social media is a good gauge, but it's not exactly a scientific poll. So it's kind of good to get that information out. Now, you got a couple of years left in the next 2 years. Are there any specific goals that you're looking to achieve in the next 2 years? Things that you'd like to see, come to fruition, or things that you'd like to see us improve on? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is, an interesting topic. and I thought about it because I know there are certain council members that had really big plans and big ideas, and I didn't have necessarily any huge ideas. I mean, one of the big one of the big things I wanted to accomplish just happened to be something that you really wanted to accomplish, and that was Wagner Road. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a whole lot I had to push on that on that particular thing. I mean, it's a big thing for my ward and whatnot. So that wasn't really something I had to champion. I am a champion of it, but I didn't have to champion it. So I really think that with all the stuff that I know is going to happen in the next 2 years, one of my big goals is just to keep doing what I'm doing and trying to get the information out, the right information, the accurate information. I mean, I know this show does it too. I do it, on Facebook. I do it when I'm out in the community and whatnot, just trying to tell people what's really happening. So I really just, my goal is to keep my eye on the ball, know what's coming, know as much information about those things as I can, so that even if that information isn't out and somebody asks about it and people start freaking out about it, that I can I can say, you know what, I know that's not going to happen, whatever it is you're and if I don't know the information, I know you're just a text away. So
yeah, it happens quite frequently for a lot of things, but that's part of it's about getting that information out. It's about letting people know what's going on.
So, but other than that, I just want to continue to work as a team with my other council members to support the things that need supported, and and keep advocating for the people in my ward, because I mean that's
why you're here.
What I need to do. Yeah.
All right. Well, the tough question is this: council always has interesting decisions to make, and so one of the things I'm asking council members now is, when you know that a decision is coming up, what's the process that you go through to make sure that you're informed and ready to vote when the time comes? What steps do you take? How do you go about that?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, so I have a day job, and it's as a scientist. And I approach it very similar in that, usually I know about things even before they're on the agenda. And then once they're on the agenda, I have about a month and a half to think about them then. And for me, it's just every big decision I enter into with I'm human, so I have some bias, but I try and enter in it with as little bias as possible. And just get every ounce of information I have. That's why I feel like it's important, if it's a zoning issue or whatnot, that I go to the planning commission meetings, or at least listen to them online, because I want to hear that conversation. I want to hear the conversation if it's a BZBA meeting, and whatnot. And if it's a particularly controversial decision, I've been known to put something out there on Facebook and start fires on purpose, because I want to know what people think. And generally, once I start that fire, I won't interject. I'll just
let it burn.
I'll just watch. Yeah, because the point of me starting it was not for me to tell people what they should think. It was just to see what people do think. So I mean, so it's just information, and then at the end, then you just look at all the information and try and make a story out of it as to whether you vote yes or no about something. And it's not always, it's definitely not one thing. I mean, I have to consider what it'll be long term for the city, what a decision would be long term for the city, which might not be something that people like short term.
Yeah.
It might hurt short term, whatever it is, losing some trees or whatnot. And of course, I'm not in favor of that, but I'm in favor of it if there's a huge upside 10 years down the road for the city. So like all that comes together, all the information comes together to make a decision. So it's all about information for me. I just want to know everything I can possibly know about it. What other cities have done in similar situations, or states or whatnot. So
don't always have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
All right, let's see. Do we have any questions so far?
Not this time.
Not at this time. Well, I hope you've got some time to stick around because we've got a lot of things to talk about.
I do.
All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is parks and registration. Fall basketball and volleyball signups, I believe, are going to be extended a little bit. So if you have somebody that's got some hoop dreams at home or wants to play some volleyball this fall and into the winter, make sure you go ahead and check out our parks and recreation pages and get people signed up so that way we can continue on with that. I know I've got, my sophomore Alex is going to be wanting to play basketball, so I know he'll be in that one. I do have some roads information. So for council, to let you know, we are going to be putting forth our 2022 roads program. So for those of you watching, you'll get to hear whether or not your roads are going to be considered. So this is what we do. So our engineers will go out and they'll survey and they'll figure out of all the roads in Reynoldsburg, which ones are the most traveled and have the most wear and tear and things of that nature. So then they coalesce this into a list. We send it to an engineer to go out and kind of do some survey work, give us some idea of what it's going to be to do this, and then we try and fit it into our budget. Now, this is what is going to be presented, and then obviously when the engineering comes back, we'll put it out to bid after the first of the year, and then depending on what the cost of materials are and everything else, then we're going to puzzle piece all of this stuff together to try and get as many roads as possible. So some of the roads included, now this is when everybody's listening, some of the roads include Canada Court, Cuthbert, Virginia Court, and Gladius Court. We have Birchview Drive, Rygate Court, Tomahawk Trail, Idea Drive, Nocturne East, Crofton Place, Court, and Circle. And then we also have resurfacing with some of the curb repair all the way. So if you were on Priestley Road up on the Taylor area, this will be complete curb replacement as well. Hill Ridge Road, Rygate Drive, Carousel Drive East, Roundelay Road East, Taylor Road Southwest. We also have a very big project coming up at Broadwind Drive, and this will be everything to the west of Graham Road. So Broadwind to Jackson will be on there as well. We'll also take all the roads that we did this year and we will seal them up next year again with what they call a rejuvenator. And then we'll also take care of any kind of crack sealing and things like that from some roads that are a little bit older, but we have not identified those yet. We'll wait until we get through a little bit of the winter period for that one. Now, these are all the roads on tap, and with the exception of Canada Court and Cuthbert Court, everything else is going to be kind of open to figure out the puzzle piece of how much money we have and things of that nature, but we are looking to spend a relatively healthy amount of money next year on that particular roads project, not including Main Street Phase 2, not including some of the other projects that I'll talk about a little bit later. So you're going to see that in council in a couple weeks. The idea is we want to get as far ahead of this as we can, so we're ready to go out and get those bids early on.
Yeah, I got a personal pat on the back during the Tomato Festival for being single-handedly responsible for getting Priestley.
I appreciate that. That was. Thank you to Lou Salvati for Priestley Drive. So that was always good. So we got that. Now we talked about town halls. So we have a couple of things coming up. We have next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock here at City Hall. We have our Tomato Festival community kind of like volunteer meeting. So this is where we're going to listen to some of the members of the community that might have some suggestions, questions, or would just like to be part of the volunteer team. A lot of volunteers came out this last year, which was great, and they got a cool T-shirt with Mr. Tomato on there, so that was pretty fun. So that'll be this Tuesday night at 7. We're going to go over some of the survey results that we had from the past week and a half. The big things that came up, obviously, rides. Carnival games and rides were some of the big ones. More food options, things like that. And then we'll talk a little bit about why are the tomatoes a really hard thing to find to sell tomato-related items. We always hear that that's a big thing. We want more tomato this, more tomato that, but there are actually some odd restrictions and qualifications that you have to have per FDA to sell tomato-based products in a certain way. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But know that those are things that are out there. So if you were filling out those surveys, that's great. If you continue to fill them out between now and then, if you fall back and try and find them on Facebook or whatnot, feel free and do so. But we do go through all of those things and read them out. We also have something that I'm very excited for. September 25th at Civic Park is going to be our Star Wars night at Civic Park. We did one last year. This year it'll be Star Wars The Force Awakens, and it is going to be attended by the 501st Imperial Regiment. So we're going to have some people out there, and they're going to be inspecting cars as they come in for droids, to keep an eye out for those mischievous droids that are out there. Price of admission is very, very simple. We're going to be donating food to Heart Food Pantry this year for that particular event. So we've got that going on. And so we're looking forward to that on September 25th out at Civic Park. So you'll see some more information about that coming out. We do have another town hall that we are trying to get organized. We have a lot of different moving pieces with this. This will be with the Franklin County Emergency Management and Homeland Security representative, as well as anybody else we can get from the EPA or anyone else to deal with some of the issues we've had with flooding in Reynoldsburg, specifically on Roundelay, white butterfly, and things of that nature, to kind of come up with some short-term solutions as well as long-term solutions to that. Right now, we're in that point of trying to coordinate calendars and get everything together, but do be aware that we are working on that to provide some options for that. We also have our very first, and you'll see this soon, on October 13th, we're going to have our community open house, partnering with Reynoldsburg City Schools and the Reynoldsburg Police Department for an open house where you'll be able to meet with members of council, members of the police department, as well as our community members to talk about what we can all do to understand each other and to work together to make Reynoldsburg the community that we want. We've wanted to do this for a long time, but between COVID and other circumstances, we just hadn't had a chance to get to that point. It will be socially distancing. We will be safe at that point in time and obviously play it by ear with certain, COVID issues. But we are going to be in the school district on October 13th, and we're going to start probably like a meet and greet between 6:30 and 7, and then we'll have an agenda from 7 to 8, and then a lot of it is going to be a lot of question and answer sessions. So I know a couple of council members have said that they're ready to go out and kind of go through certain neighborhoods and put some flyers up on the door to invite the community to come in. But we hope you can join us at Baldwin Road, and you'll see that a little bit later. We have just a few days after that, we have community cleanup in the morning on October 16th. We're going to have it kind of split between JFK Park and Huber Park. So we'll have our hazardous materials at Huber, and we're going to have a lot of the other stuff like your shredding, turning in if you have flags that need to be respectfully disposed of, and some other things here at JFK. And then later that night, everybody's favorite, my favorite, Halloween from the Reynoldsburg Community Association and Reynoldsburg City are partnering to bring out a Halloween event, which is good. We've got some cool ideas coming for that, so we've got that in October. But before we get to all of that, at council, I'm going to have the opportunity to actually introduce you to Melissa Blankenship. She is our new social worker. She had her first day yesterday, so be very gentle on questioning her after only 2 weeks. She's not going to have everything set, maybe 3 weeks, but not at the 2-week mark. But she's going to come into council and talk a little bit just about what she hopes to accomplish as our social worker. What we found out is this is the first program like this in the state of Ohio, and so she is having the opportunity to kind of build this program up to help support our police officers and our community members to get everyone what they need when it concerns any kind of issues, whether it's drug addiction, ageism, issues with domestic violence, all of that. She's going to be there, and we're thrilled to have her in. I know she's got a lot of support from the community. She doesn't live too far off, so she's ready to be here on the 13th. So those are a lot of those things coming up. So I'll take a second here and see if there are any questions on anything.
We do. We had a question come in and says, could you give a breakdown of the results of our 2020 census in terms of ethnicity and population of Reynoldsburg residents?
Serve that one right up.
Oh, because that's right on right on the next thing. So all right. So to whomever it is that's asking that one, we actually grew. The city of Reynoldsburg grew 14.5% from 2010 to 2020. We are now clocking in about 41,076 individuals here in Reynoldsburg. I still think that's a little bit low, but we'll go with it. As far as the ethnic breakdown, you're looking at about 50% white, 30% black, 10% Asian, and 10% multi or other. So you're looking at a very diverse city. It's, if you go out, the perfect example would be at the Arrested Development concert. You take a look at it and you saw the crowd that was there, and that's exactly what Reynoldsburg was. It was all sorts of different groups of people. They were all having a good time, and that's what Reynoldsburg is. And it was really cool to me. That will be something that I'll always remember, is just looking out and seeing everybody happy, having fun, and dancing to some great music. But that's absolutely it. What that means in terms of the larger scale numbers is, yes, we are the third largest suburb in central Ohio. We are behind Dublin and Grove City. So then it's us, and then it's everybody else. And that's from 2010 to 2020. So you look at the growth of our city, the growth of our school district. These are things that have happened already, as I'm gently plugging away for potentially bond issue topic questions that may come up. So those are a couple of good things there. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, she's also just asking if the information can be available on the city website, and we can make sure that
we'll make sure and get a link out there for it. And we are only getting about this much of what eventually will be that much information on the census. So we will get that out. I think they wanted to get the population numbers out there first as they start to hopefully fairly redraw election lines so we can have fair and equal representation throughout the state of Ohio at the state and the federal level. Just throwing that out there. We have a couple of other city events coming up. We have a new one this year. It's called Blues and Brews. It's going to be on October 2nd, and it's going to be at Huber Park from approximately 4 to 9. And Heartland Bank, big shout out to them. They're going to be our big sponsor for that. Eastside Brewery is going to provide all of those wonderful beverages. So if you've had a chance to go out to Eastside Brewery just down the street from City Hall, they're going to be out there that night. And we do know we have Mill Street Blues are going to be performing there, as well as probably somebody else out there as well. So we're getting those details out. Now that the Tomato Festival is over, we're kind of moving into some of those other things. So we've got that going on. So hope to see you out. And that'll probably be not the last event, but that'll be one of the last outdoorsy events. Oh, I forgot. My assistant Jessica's favorite event of the year is Pioneer Day, and that is in September. And what day is that again? September 16th, yeah, something like that. So we'll make sure to get that out there, but make sure you check Jessica out there. We're going to be all in period clothing on that day, so it's going to be great because it's a good thing to kind of get out of the Livingston house.
Oh, you got the Spooky Pooch Parade too.
And the Spooky Pooch Parade.
Can't
So
forget that.
I already got my costume for my little puppy now. So we've got all those fun things going on. Do want to give a little bit of a park update. We're meeting with some of our engineers to kind of discuss the Bryce Road Park that was championed by Councilwoman Kristen Bryant and Councilman Stacy Baker. So we're going to start looking at what that's going to look like, as well as moving that conversation along, as mentioned last week, with Civic Park and some of the improvements in there. Obviously, one of the big things that we're going to talk about, aside from the cricket pitch, because I know Bowen is watching, but we are also going to talk about making sure that when we do any improvements into Civic Park, that we definitely take into consideration as much water retention options as possible, so we can try and slow any of the water that's coming from north of the city into the community as best as we can. So we're going to try and go all of those options and make sure we take care of that at Civic Park, in addition to all the other fun things that we're looking on there. Kind of quiet on the development front. You'll notice that there's a lot of construction going on. We do believe the Happy Dragon is going to be closing or being torn down probably in about the next 2 weeks. And we do hope to have something to council and planning commission late September, early October, so we can see what's out there, including announcing a couple of the businesses that will be joining us here in Reynoldsburg at that time. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be some good stuff out there. I'm trying to figure out if there's anything else. We are having a Sheetz. It's on Broad Street, right in front of the Aldi's and Lowe's on the corner there.
Do you have any updates on when we're going to start phase 1 of our part of Main Street?
That should be occurring actually right now. So
Okay.
Columbia Gas looks like they've kind of tied things together, and they're finishing up and about done. Now what you're going to see is the stormwater work that is going to be done on the north side of Main Street. So this is in front of the Happy Dragon, really from City Hall all the way to Happy to Jackson. So that area is going to be addressed with the stormwater there to deal with some of the overflow concerns and things like that. So that'll be the thing. So unfortunately, the traffic on Main Street is not going to improve. However, the Ohio Department of Transportation did finish up, it looks like, all the paving on Main Street, and they got it done at night, and it looks gorgeous, and it's not nearly as bumpy. So we're appreciative of the Department of Transportation on that. But we'll make sure and update everybody on the information about what happens on Main Street as best as we can to make sure we keep that traffic flowing as best as we can. And we do have a question?
Yeah, so can you give an update on the new Reynoldsburg Library?
Yes, the last that we have heard is the current building that the library's in and the building adjacent to it are going to be torn down. They're scheduling that for November. So that's what we've heard. That's the last that I've heard any official comment on it. They're hoping to take that down and then begin construction in the spring. In addition, about the same time that we're looking at the Kmart facility should be completely gone within the next couple of weeks. And then they'll be building their facilities hopefully next year as well.
Did they announce where the temporary library will be?
I've not heard that yet either. I think that's what they're looking. I think that's what they're waiting for, is to try and secure that before they get everything else together. But we'll work out on that one. So our next fireside chat is going to be with Reynoldsburg City Schools wrestling coach John Forgey. John has done a great job with our wrestling program. Definitely brought it out in advance. I know they had a chance to bring some of their members to council last year because again, it's a growing program, and before their season gets started, they want to make sure and advertise. So anyone that in Reynoldsburg City Schools, male or female, that would like to join in on the wrestling team, it's a growing program. So we're happy to have him on next week. It'll be by Zoom because he's also a teacher in the greatest school district in Central Ohio, Reynoldsburg City Schools. So he'll be out there as well. But we're looking forward to him. Any other questions, comments, anything like that?
Nope.
All right, as always, if you guys have any questions in between shows, obviously feel free and reach out, message myself, send an email to us, things of that nature. I've tried and do a couple of community walkabouts, a little bit. So usually if somebody has a question or concern, and I spent some time on Starlight Drive last week talking to a few residents out there. So if there are concerns that you have and you want to see somebody face-to-face as opposed to just a phone call or an email, please feel free and let me know. I'm happy to get out there. Same thing with Councilman Salvati. I know he has no issues at all, especially now. Hopefully the weather is going to be a little bit more cooperative.
An empty nester.
Yep, and an empty nester on top of it. I still got one at home. So with the rest of that, thank you everybody again. Thank you for those that joined in at the Kmart demolition ceremony on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. Obviously the building's not completely down, but it will be within the next couple of weeks. But it was a great event. Got to throw some tomatoes at a wall. Met some members of the Alliance that are out there and talked about that. Great community event, brought everybody together. It was a lot of fun. And it is that first step in the revitalization of Bryce Road. We're just going to get started with there, and we're not stopping until we get to 70. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of the time. Go Raiders on Friday night. Go Ohio State tomorrow night. And so that's going to be about it. So again, remember everybody, stay safe, stay respectful, especially on social media. And as always, put your shopping carts away. Have a great time, everybody. We'll see you next week.